Mortal Kombat is no stranger to crossovers. Raiden, Scorpion, Katana, and the rest have found themselves tangled up with the likes of the Justice League, Terminator, Freddy Krueger, Spawn, but when you take a look at Destiny, these characters, some of them virtually unkillable. Do you think the Mortal Kombat cast could hold their own? Or are the Guardians the ones in danger? Do they stand a chance against the Spawn of Netherrealm? What happens when a Guardian goes toe-to-toe with a demon, or when a fallen Kel locks fists with Johnny Cage? What would it look like if Destiny entered the Mortal Kombat tournament?
Fatality. Scorpion.
Alright, before we get into some of the gameplay talk, how would the story pan out? This was harder to think through than the Halo Destiny video since these two games are so different, but here's what I came up with. In Destiny 1, when the stranger says she doesn't have time to explain why she doesn't have time to explain, she was actually interested in your character because she witnessed your combat prowess. You see, in the timeline that the Exo Stranger is from, the Traveler was destroyed and the darkness took over, which is not dissimilar to what she tells us in Beyond Light. After this happened, the Mortal Kombat tournament was established, and Guardians ceased to exist. Powers were granted by the more cruel nature of the darkness. As an added note, the cyborgs are just Exos, but more hardened for the contest. Other than that huge caveat, the lore of Mortal Kombat remains as intact as it can under these circumstances. Anyway, Elsie came to our timeline in search of warriors to help end the tournament, which she successfully finds. After talking with the Vanguard, she brings a select few Guardians and beings from the Destiny canon timeline over to hers, and the contest begins. Alright, with the story talk out of the way, how would this game function? What is the product of an FPS and a fighting game? Well, it's still a fighting game. The game would function very similar to Mortal Kombat 11, however, there are some notable differences. Here's the big one. Guardians obviously have supers. This would probably translate similarly to Marvel vs. Capcom's Infinity Stones. When playing as a Guardian, you have a separate bar that fills up as you dish out and receive damage. Upon filling this bar, you can activate your super. Obviously, this will not one-shot the opponent, your attacks just do extra damage. Every character would have a sort of charge-up bar or an ultimate ability to keep it balanced. However, here's a fun idea. Shao Kahn is clearly not happy that Elsie has brought over Guardians from another timeline. As a servant of the darkness, he imbues some of his warriors with splinters of the darkness, further enhancing their powers and making them equals and opposites to the Guardians. As for a Guardian's immortality, we'll just say that since the Traveler has been destroyed in this timeline, Guardians are now mortal. They would also have all their own fatalities, of course. I would imagine there would be some interesting banter between some of the characters as well, and the more I look at it, a fallen Kel doesn't necessarily look that out of place in the Mortal Kombat setting. Well, all things considered. As far as customization, there would be all the usual skin, fatality, intro, and outro customization you would come to expect. However, I think it would be cool if Guardians could change out their supers and weapons to an extent, of course. Like maybe Cade 6 could switch his Ace of Spades out for Thorn, adding some damage over time but sacrificing Fire Rate or something. Now, this is something I could actually see happening, at least on a small level. I wouldn't be too surprised if a future combat pack brought someone like Saint 14 or Shaxx into the tournament. It still probably won't happen, but it's admittedly more likely than some other crossover ideas. And honestly, I don't feel like we see enough video game crossovers in fighting games. They pop up from time to time like Arbiter and Killer Instinct.
Were it so easy.
They're Master Chief and Dead or Alive 4. But still would be cool to see more. But for now, all we can do is think about who would win in a fight, Scorpion or Cade 6. Yeah, I think my money's on Scorpion for that one, unless Cade puts on the Shards of Galanor and hits him with a well-timed Blade Barrage, which in that case, Scorpion, I am sorry. What about Reptile versus Saint though? I think again I'm going to have to go with Saint for this one. Maybe. Or Goro versus the Stranger, the Sweeper Bot versus Scorpion, Sub-Zero. You get the point. But, as always, if you found something interesting here, if something has piqued your interest, maybe even subscribe. You might enjoy something else I put out. But until then, I am just going to go ahead and get started on the next idea.